On the line right now from Binghamton Way, it is congressional hopeful Mike Vasquez. Good morning, Mike. How are you, sir?
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Cold. It's negative 14 already, Mike. It's just too cold for me.
Yeah, I was hearing the weather reports. It's crazy.
It's nuts. So, Mike, did you watch the State of the Union last night? I can only imagine you did. What was your reaction from what the president outlined last night?
Well, it was quite a muted State of the Union, and it was really notable for the things that weren't in it.
Yeah.
In particular, it's the first time that the president hasn't mentioned some form of infrastructure shovel-ready job, which I thought kind of stood out quite a bit about that. And it was also notable for the fact that the President Obama, is taking a position opposite that of candidate and Senator Obama in 2007, who was complaining about the use of executive orders. And here he is in the State of the Union saying he's going to go it alone and circumvent Congress.
Yeah.
That's a little troubling.
From a conservative view, a lot of people say, well, it's, he has that, right and privilege, and, he's afforded that opportunity through the Constitution. Why is that troubling for some members of the conservative party, Mike?
Well, I think it's concerning for all Americans because, in fact, he doesn't have that power. The right of the executive order is expressly stated to not be used to circumvent Congress.
Right. Yeah, and that's exactly what he's doing. Yeah. Yeah. $10.10 minimum wage, for federal contractors. I think that's alarming for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons, Mike.
Of course it is. It's good to have an increase. Everyone likes to have a raise.
Sure.
But let's look at what we're really talking about there. You're talking about far less than 2% of the entire population of the United States that he's talking to.
Yeah.
In addition, there have been many studies that have been done on this that show that in increasing the minimum wage, you actually do more harm to the people you're trying to help because these are unskilled workers. And when you increase that cost, the associated cost from businesses is to increase their cost of goods, which usually outpaces the increase that they receive at the minimum wage.
Yeah.
So they're actually more hurt at the end of the day than they actually benefit.
Yeah. We're talking with 2014 candidate for the New York 22nd Congressional District, Michael Vasquez. So, Mike, you also popped up locally in the Observer-Dispatch here in Utica with a letter to the editor, kind of, criticizing how Congressman Hanna, your likely opponent in the race, on how he brought the drone program to the Griffith Technology Park. Share your thoughts on that.
Well, I think the drone program, first off, I commend the fact that new jobs in New York State, always a good thing.
Right, sure.
We're number 50 in business friendliness. We've earned that, and sadly, it's not a good thing. We need to bring in new business.
Right.
But looking at what's going on with drones, this is a very serious issue, both to our Fourth Amendment rights and to the potential of use throughout the nation. We know that FBI Director Mueller already told Congress directly last year that they've been using drones, but they don't really have a set of rules, and they couldn't describe how they were being used. It was then later determined in the same year, LA Times came out with a report that they've been using drones for the FBI, the DEA, and several agencies, and haven't reported that. Now, so there's a potential for abuse there because we have no idea how they're using these drones on the federal level. And they've been using them longer than they've been telling us about.
Right.
And now we're going to roll that out to all agencies from the federal to the local level. And there are no rules that are set out there. I believe it was Rob Callow of the University of Washington who notes that there's no restrictions. There's no law that applies to drones. Right. They could literally park a drone in front of your bedroom and tape you and there's no law to restrict them from doing that, and potentially they may have already done that, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
That's why the state of South Carolina, their house, the state house, 100% unanimously voted to basically ban drone use in their state. And they're not the only ones.
Yeah. Well, and outside of, the federal government using drones, private citizens can use these. Because you could build a pretty high-tech drone for, I don't know, $3,500 and really fly it anywhere you want, spying on anybody who happens to be out of their house. I don't know. I just find that to be alarming. Another kind of point of, I don't know if it's a controversial vote, but it certainly has shown that the congressman broke away from his party on the, voting against the No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion Act, Mike. And that's, voting against the federal government subsidizing abortions. The congressman, voted against that act, the only GOP member in the House of Congress to do so. Would you have done the same thing if you sat in that seat?
No, I believe I am pro-life. I do understand that upstate New York in general is in favor of some form of abortion, but I believe that was something that he should have voted for.
Yeah.
But I'm a little confused in somewhat his position on the issue. He's mentioned as an example, against late-term abortion.
Right.
But he has voted in favor of late-term abortion, one of two New York State Republicans to do so against the party, to expand the definition and the ability to allow late-term abortions at 25 weeks. You're talking about 4+ months there, 4 or 5 months, having abortion under very specious terms. I disagree with that. I don't think that most people in upstate New York agree with something like that. So I take deference to some of those positions.
Mike, we're getting right into the campaign season. What are you going to be? What's your campaign going to be kind of running on and highlighting throughout this long process for the election?
Well, there's several issues. The key ones that are important are let's create jobs. That's the one thing the president hasn't addressed.
Yeah.
It's the one thing 36 times he's mentioned since he's been elected that jobs are priority one, something else that was absent last night, and he's failed to come through with that focus. We're seeing that we haven't had action.
Yeah.
400,000 people in December stopped being counted, and that's the only reason why we saw the unemployment rate drop.
Yeah.
It's not something, the president was taking credit for the low unemployment rate. He's leaving out the fact that people aren't counting anymore, and that a total of 21 million people, either because they're not counted or they're underemployed, are in trouble right now.
Mm-hmm.
So focus is, let's get those jobs. One of the fastest and one of the most effective ways that everyone has agreed on is lower the corporate tax rate. The president did mention that, and he only mentions it whenever there's an election coming around. Last time he was talking about it significantly was in 2012 when he was running for re-election.
Right.
But let's actually act on that. Let's drop the rate 10%, make America competitive internationally, and give entrepreneurs that little hedge to actually create new businesses that do stimulate the economy and make everyone better. That's a better answer than increasing minimum wage.
Yeah, what the president was outlining last night, I heard a lot of programs that will cost more taxpayer money. How are we going to pay for it is the question. But hey, it was pandering to the left, I guess, was what the president was all about last night. Mike, listen, it's we're right in the thick of it. We're getting geared up for the election. Where can everybody go to find more information on your candidacy and on your thoughts and views in general, Mike? Where do they go?
Absolutely. They can go to Michael Vasquez for Congress.com.
It looks like Jay put that link already up on our Facebook. Mike, thanks so much. Good luck out there. We'll be touching base soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you, my friend.